Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Dylan. Happy holidays, happy New Year's. And with the New Year's coming up on the horizon, I wanted to drop a top 10 video games I'm most looking forward to in 2023. We've got a lot to cover, so without further ado, let's just jump into the list. Number 10, Armored Core 6. I've got to be honest, I've never played Armored Core in my life, but I don't think I'm alone in saying that anything made by From Software nowadays is going to perk your ears up, is going to get you excited. From Software has always made Armored Core. This is not a new thing. I know I saw some people online kind of saying like, oh, Armored Core is getting a resurgence and oh, FromSoft is doing it this time. Good for Armored Core. It's like, no, FromSoft has always made Armored Core games, but the name From Software has been elevated to such an extent now that I think every time we see their name next to a project, it's going to get some excitement, and I fall into that category. There also was, an interview done with From Software kind of talking about Armored Core 6, what it's going to look like, how it's going to play. FromSoft has said this is going to be essentially a soft reboot of Armored Core in the sense that you don't have to have played any of the previous Armored Cores to get into this one, which I think is a smart move. And they also talked about how, no, this is not a Souls game. They are not taking the Souls formula and applying it to Armored Core. They're just going to continue to build off the Armored Core mechanics that they always have. Earning money, upgrading your mech, big giant robot battles. Let's do it. The one gameplay mechanic that they did seem to borrow from Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice, is actually the posture system. It sounds like the health bars are going to be less important, and it's going to be more about staying aggressive with combat and applying enough pressure to break your opponent's posture so that then you can go in for a finisher. Much like in Sekiro, if you ever played that game, you know what we're talking about. And so ultimately, the only reason this game is at number 10 is because we've only seen that cinematic trailer and only gotten some information from that interview. I think if we had seen some gameplay, I would probably have it higher up on the list, but for now, I'm tentative. I'm going to wait and see. But needless to say, I do have a lot of faith in From Software. They've just built such a reputation for themselves. I don't know. I just don't see them tripping here. Number 9, Final Fantasy XVI. So Final Fantasy XVI has looked pretty bonkers ever since the reveal trailer. Looks like they're going back to more of a medieval setting rather than the more modern or futuristic settings that we've seen in recent Final Fantasy games. Also seems like they're bumping up the maturity. I think this is actually going to be rated M for mature, which is only the second game in all of Final Fantasy, I think, that is going to be rated M. So I'm expecting some gore, maybe some strong language or adult themes, which, I mean, yeah, it gets me pretty pumped up. The story itself also sounds pretty political, kind of maybe, I don't know, Game of Thrones-esque. Seems like each country is going to have their own summons, like Shiva, Ifrit, and Odin, and each country is kind of holding these summons almost like their own nuclear warheads or something like that. Kind of gives me like a Cold War feeling, where maybe every country has their nuclear warhead, or in this case, their summon, and it's just going to take one country from maybe tiptoeing a little bit too far over the line, and suddenly all-out war is going to break loose. Sounds like our character is going to have to travel from maybe country to country and collect all of the summons, becoming more and more powerful as he goes until, well, who knows what happens. And it goes without saying, the gameplay shifting to more the third-person action RPG rather than the more traditional turn-based does appeal to me. I do like a turn-based RPG on occasion, but generally, yeah, I'm going to gravitate more towards the action-oriented gameplay style. Some people may not like that change, but for me, and I think for the general mass audience, it works. Number 8, Warhammer Space Marines 2. So, Warhammer Space Marines 2 looks I don't really know how else to say it. The cinematic trailer that we saw at the Game Awards definitely set the tone. Like, it looks very intense, looks super badass. Just the general design of the world and the creatures gets me excited. And then they did show a snippet of gameplay at the end of that trailer, and it just looks like a hack and slash with the gore of Doom and just like a power fantasy or power trip type of gameplay experience. It just looks so intense. I mean, you're just this jacked up space marine, great sound design on the machine guns, got body parts flying all over the place. You're being swarmed by aliens. Chainsaw comes out your arm and you're just hacking and slashing and cutting people in two. It looks wild. It just looks so wild, and I cannot wait to play this. And visually, it looks great too, of course. I mean, we're talking PS5, next-gen exclusive. It looks amazing. It looks so good. Number 7, The Legend of Zelda, Tears of the Kingdom. So some of you might be surprised to see Tears of the Kingdom this low on the list at number 7. Yeah, there's going to be 6 other games ahead of this one. And I want to, don't get it twisted. I'm extremely excited for this game. I know it's going to be good. This is Zelda we're talking about. It's going to be given the budget, the time, and the love required to be great. It's going to be great. But in order for it to move up on my list any further than this, I need a couple more key pieces of information. The trailers we've gotten so far have been great to set up the story and like a handful of Link's abilities. Obviously, we have Ganondorf returning as the main antagonist, like a zombie mummy Ganondorf. Looks absolutely incredible. Probably the most hype thing that I've seen so far. Of course, we've seen Link traverse from the ground to the sky, a lot of verticality in this game, and we've gotten a handful of abilities like the rewind time ability, and we've seen Link like Danny Phantom through solid objects. Don't know what that's about yet, but what would really elevate Tears of the Kingdom to the next level for me is just a couple of key pieces of information. Are we going to have legacy dungeons? Are we bringing back the old school style of dungeons? Are we going to have like a weaponsmith that can repair our broken items? How many Korok seeds are we talking? So that's my main question, and why Zelda isn't a little bit higher up on this list, because I'm a massive Zelda fan, but I'm just wondering if Nintendo is going to address some of the concerns and the complaints from Breath of the Wild and apply them to Tears of the Kingdom. Like the dungeons, weapon durability, being able to climb surfaces in the rain. If they make those kinds of quality improvements, in my opinion, and they don't have to. I mean, it's their vision. They can do what they want. But if they do make those adjustments, suddenly Tears of the Kingdom is catapulted up probably into my top 3. Number 6, Atomic Heart. I have been extremely intrigued by what I have seen and heard about Atomic Heart. Firstly, from a story and setting perspective, this is a alternate reality Soviet Union. Takes place in 1955, and you play as a character who is apparently suffering from some form of psychosis or something. The Soviet Union is being taken over by these bioengineered experiments gone wrong. And the gameplay I've seen has shown our character doing battle with these epic-looking robots. There's apparently a large emphasis on boss battles. And from some of the early gameplay impressions that I've heard, that the game is very challenging as well. So we got like a cool, trippy sci-fi setting with an intriguing story, incredibly beautiful visuals, and a gameplay loop that is largely focused on boss battles and challenging combat. I mean, that sounds pretty great to me. Number 5, Marvel's Spider-Man 2. So Spider-Man is obviously an iconic character, and at this point, one of the faces of Sony. Between its releases on the PS4 and Spider-Man Miles Morales, it's become the definitive Spider-Man video game experience. And with Spider-Man 2 on the way, it has raised the bar even further by introducing Venom into this series. Now, Venom himself, I think, will be a great antagonist, maybe become an anti-hero by the end of the game. We'll see. He's an iconic character in his own right, and that gets me pumped up. But what gets me very excited is what I hope to see in Spider-Man 2, and that is to make Venom a playable character. Some of my favorite childhood memories playing Spider-Man video games come from Spider-Man 2000 or Ultimate Spider-Man, where there are extended chapters where you get to play as Venom. Obviously, this gives a good opportunity to mix up the gameplay, mix up the tone, the vibe of whatever you're doing in the games. Because, of course, I think being able to swap between Peter Parker, Miles Morales, and Venom would provide some really good diversity throughout the game. But I'm gonna be honest, Spider-Man 2 really doesn't even have to do that much to be a great game. If it, at its core, is just like a solid Spider-Man game on the same level as Spider-Man PS4 and Miles Morales, then they've already won. Adding Venom into the mix and the potential, maybe the co-op multiplayer with Peter and Miles. Again, I think that's a bit of a long shot, but I'm just throwing it out there. If those things happen, then the game will definitely be elevated into God tier status. But if it does none of that and is just like a Spider-Man game where you fight Venom, then congratulations, you're already in talks for Game of the Year. Number 4, Dead Space Remake. So we don't have to wait too long for this one. Dead Space Remake comes out in January. And I want to say right off the bat, I've been a really big fan, and I've been pretty invested in the development of this game because the developers themselves on Twitter have been extremely transparent with what they're working on and asking for a lot of community feedback on their changes. They posted even some of the sound designs to some of their weapons, and they were just asking like, hey, like, this is what the original sounds like, this is what the new one sounds like, what do you think, should we adjust some things? And they took player feedback into account, made said adjustments, and reposted it again until they felt like they got it right. And they did that with everything: character models, environments, death animations, which is obviously a big part of Dead Space. Just seems like a lot of hard work and passion went into this one. The game is already good. We already know that Dead Space is great, and this does feel like a true like one-to-one remake. You know, some remakes are kind of they take liberties, change some things up here and there. This one looks like they're adapting the exact game. They're just polishing it up, making it look better, making it sound better, making it control better. It's going to be the exact same game that we know and love, just objectively improved upon. Of course, with the way this game plays, you know, it's more unique, having to shoot the appendages off your targets, having to solve puzzles, and visually the game just looks glorious. Like, this is a true next gen looking game. I know a lot of games, we're 2 years into next gen, right? The PS5, the Series X and everything, but there's still some games who have not made the leap, or they are still kind of doing the PS4 and PS5 release, maybe being held back a little bit. This one is next gen only, and it looks next gen only. And if you need a little more excitement, assuming this game sells well, which I think it will, this could be the resurgence that Dead Space needs to get further releases down the line. You know, Dead Space 1 remake, Dead Space 2 remake, maybe they remake Dead Space 3 and beyond. You know, they could make spin-offs, side games, they could continue the main story. Who knows? You know, if this game just continues to bring Dead Space back into kind of the mainstream, then I don't see why we couldn't get more Dead Space releases. Number 3, Star Wars Jedi Survivor. This one's easy for me. Massive Star Wars fan, full transparency here on this channel. Major bias. Also helps that Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order was so damn good. It takes a new character, a fledgling Jedi in Cal Kestis, very likable character, takes him on a journey of growth, and you also mix in Souls-like gameplay, Souls-like elements. I'm sold. I mean, that's kind of the perfect storm, if you will. We've not seen too much gameplay for this, but we've seen some cinematic stuff, we've seen some story stuff. Cal Kestis has clearly aged up quite a bit. He's rocking an amazing beard, much better than mine. He's also got some sick facial scars. We meet this dude stuck in a test tube, don't know who he is, looks kind of evil, kind of giving me evil vibes, but we'll have to see where the story takes us. Speaking of which, you know, what are they going to do with our powers story-wise? Obviously, we got pretty strong by the end of Jedi Fallen Order. So is the story going to strip us of all of our abilities at the beginning of the game, make us start from scratch? I don't know. Or are we going to be kind of overpowered at the beginning? Because how is that going to work as far as balancing is concerned? You know, it made sense in Fallen Order that Cal is kind of struggling with stormtroopers or struggling with the Inquisitors. But what are they going to do with the sequel here? I assume we're going to learn even more advanced and hardcore abilities as we go as well. So a lot of questions to be answered there. Like I said, we've not seen too much of this game, and really my excitement boils down to the fact that this is a Star Wars property. The first game was very good. This game's probably going to have a much bigger budget because of the success of the first game. And I really trust Respawn as a developer. I know they're part of EA, but EA seems to kind of like stay away from Respawn quite a bit and just kind of let them do their thing, which I think is a smart choice. Respawn has proven to be some pretty talented developers. So again, my excitement really boils down to the fact that I really trust Respawn to make another great product. Number 2, Hogwarts Legacy. If you had told me I'd be putting a Harry Potter game ahead of Star Wars and Zelda, I would have called you crazy, because I am not the biggest Harry Potter fan in the world. I've watched all the movies, I've read the first book, and that's about it. But everything I've seen from Hogwarts Legacy looks phenomenal. First off, I love the idea of, you know, the create your character, your own adventure. You're not playing as Harry Potter in this game. This is far before their time, and it's a true, live out your own story RPG. Yeah, you get to choose your house. You get to choose what sort of magic you lean into. Whether it's like your traditional magic, your dark magic, your curses. I think there's going to be some kind of morality system. I don't think they've confirmed that, but I just kind of get that vibe from what I've seen and heard. But there's potion brewing, broom flying, dungeon diving, animal taming, and of course your personal journey to battle the dark forces of this world. And as I said, I'm not the biggest Harry Potter fan in the world, but my wife is. And this is a rarity. She has been following this game right alongside me every step of the way. Every couple of weeks, my wife will be like, hey, when's that Harry Potter game coming out? Is it coming out soon? I don't remember, She's always asking about, hey, did we get any updates on that Harry Potter game? How's it looking? Is it almost done? And I'm like, it's remarkable because if you know my wife, does she play games? Yeah, sometimes. But she by no stretch of the imagination is a gamer. She doesn't come home and, rush over to the couch and pick up a controller, but she is drooling over this game and it's unlike anything I've ever seen. And that alone gets me so excited, not just for my own enjoyment, but I can't wait to watch her play this game. She is such a big Harry Potter fan. And she has even pointed out to me, how detailed this game is based on the lore and the different Harry Potter stuff, Easter eggs, I guess, that they've stuffed into the background or, put straight into the gameplay. So clearly there's a lot of love here being put forth by the developers, which I think should be commended. And on one last note, the combat looks really, really good. When you think Harry Potter video game, I'm not sure that riveting combat is the first thing to pop into somebody's mind. But the showcases I've watched have looked very impressive. There's dodging, there's a lot of mobility involved. Of course, you have different types of magic you can use. You can pick up people and objects and throw them across the room. You can hex multiple targets so that when you do damage to one, it does damage to all. You can curse people and warp their mind so that they'll fight for you instead. Different potions and items that you craft ahead of time can be used in the middle of battle, and there's plenty of environmental interactions to look for in the middle of battle as well. So all in all, this game just looks so quality. It just looks so good. If I'm as excited for this game as little of a Harry Potter fan as I am, I can only imagine how excited the hardcore Harry Potter fans are for this one, because it looks like the definitive Harry Potter RPG. Number 1, Resident Evil 4 Remake. Oh boy, Resident Evil. I have gotten really into this franchise over the last couple of years. I'm not gonna lie, I can't say that I've been the biggest diehard Resident Evil fan for my entire life. That's not true. And I say the last couple of years because I never even gave horror games much of a chance until Resident Evil 2 Remake. And I was kind of feeling like I was missing a pretty large chunk of the video game genre just because I always avoided horror games. So I played RE2 Remake and it proved to be one of the best games I ever played and is by far my favorite horror game to date. Since then, I played every mainline Resident Evil game. Each year, Resident Evil finds a way to kind of take over my life for a couple of months. I get like a little itch to kind of play some Resident Evil, so I'll throw one in with the intention of playing maybe a couple hours, and I'll just end up binging 4 games in a row. So you can imagine my excitement when Resident Evil 4 Remake was even first being rumored to be coming out. I know a lot of people want Code Veronica. Your requests are valid, but this is where Capcom is focusing right now, and I'm not sad about it. I'm sorry. Resident Evil 4 is obviously an iconic, historic release. I know many would argue that this is the greatest game ever made. Ever, of all time, in history, period. And while, it's not up there for me, I very, very much loved my time with RE4. It's got that perfect combination of comedy and horror, cheesiness and action hero. And I'm excited to say that, from what we've seen from Capcom of RE4 Remake, it looks like they're sticking true to that. Now, Capcom has come out and said that they are going to try to increase the horror of this release. What that means specifically, they've definitely adjusted the lighting quite a bit. The character redesigns we've seen for like the Las Plagas cultists look absolutely terrifying. I already hate their chanting and their moaning in the base game. I'm sure it is going to destroy me. This is going to destroy me. And man, just imagine the Regenerators, the Iron Maidens around the end of RE4. Imagine what those guys are going to be like in the remake. Those dudes scared the piss out of me in the base game. In the remake, I am shivering at the thought. But it does seem like they're going to keep the campiness of Leon. In the short bits of gameplay that we have seen, Leon does still throw out a couple of zippy one-liners, which I'm very happy to see. And of course, this game is focusing on my favorite Resident Evil character, Leon Kennedy. I love his arc from rookie cop to seasoned zombie hunting veteran. He goes from sitting behind the front desk at the RPD to being sent to foreign countries to rescue the president's daughter. I mean, talk about climbing the ladder. Holy crap. Visually, the game looks stunning, and I know it's going to control well. I love this third-person style of Resident Evil that they've introduced with the remakes and Resident Evil Village third-person mode. I've been playing through that. It just feels so good, that over-the-shoulder camera, the 180-degree turn, the way you can kind of peek around corners a little bit. I love the way it aims. I don't know, it just feels really crisp, very precise, and I can only imagine RE4 is going to control the same way, and it's going to be great.
Also, you can parry a chainsaw with your knife.
Well, guys, that's going to do it for us here today. Please leave in the comments below, what games are you looking forward to in 2023? Did you agree with my list? Does my list kind of look similar to yours, or would you put Tears of the Kingdom way higher than number 7? Let me know, and I will catch you on the next one. Also, like, subscribe, share it around. Peace.